By 424, where we learn to be a better gamer. We are doing Newbie Thursday because we had 2 days of no dailies because the universe was out to get Day 9 via corrupting his hard drive. Ugh. But we are back and running, and we're examining the idea of adjustment. In the very first part, we examined this fundamental idea of adjust as small as possible. And we saw that the lovely Protoss player did an amazing job of just gently tweaking, solving a huge issue, which was these giant marine drops that were killing him, and then went ahead and won very seamlessly. We like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hop into a game by Darkslayer TV, where he's going to be doing a carrier build, and that of course might sound a little doofy, but for any of you who have seen White Raw's stream, it is not doofy at all. White Raw has been using his special tactic build, and going for very fast 2 Stargate carrier rush against a Zerg. I know a lot of you have seen 2 Stargate Void Ray Phoenix. Well, White Raw builds 1 Void Ray, and then builds carriers. Yeah, and has a near 90% win rate with the strategy. It's really, really good. So, of course, Darkslayer TV was thinking, oh, cool, I want to try it out. And when you're trying out a completely new strategy to you, that is where this idea of adjustment is going to come in really huge. So we're going to hop into this. Let's ignore everything possible about, ooh, you need to make more probes, make more pylons, your money's getting high. We're going to ignore all those and focus a little bit more on strategy. So here is Darkslayer TV. Now, it's less the fact that it is a novel strategy in the broad scope of StarCraft 2, and it's more important whether or not it's new to you. Because let me be honest, you're far more important than the metagame, right? Your enjoyment of the game and your experience of the strategies, that's the real experience you need to focus on. So if, for some reason, you are going Reactor Hellion against Zerg, transitioning into Marine Tank for the first time ever, it doesn't matter that 90% of Terran players do that. It's new to you. So let's look at this strategy and forget about all the metagame bullshit, quite honestly, and just look at what Darkslayer TV could be possibly doing in terms of adjusting. Strategy things like building placement, I think, are reasonable things to do, but we don't have to do these. Wait for the problems to happen and solve them as they happen. Now, for instance, I can tell you right now that this cannon placement from Darkslayer TV leaves this Nexus very vulnerable. If these Zerglings swing around, this could cause us problems. Let's say you played 40 games building your cannon here and your Nexus here, and no Zerg player ever went by. Or let's be more honest. Let's say that you're in Bronze League and you're against a ton of Zergs who are just not being aggressive at all. So this never happens to you. That's fine. Just wait for it to happen. Just wait until this happens, and then say to yourself, ooh, maybe I should do different cannon placement. Wait for the moves of your opponent to dictate the way your adjustment works. If you have been building your cannon here, and you're thinking to yourself, well, shit, I think this is bad, but I don't really know why, so I'm just going to keep building that there. That is correct. That is actually a completely correct thing to do. So Darkslayer TV ends up losing not too much. Actually, very nice amount of probes pulled there. Not too many, just 3, to deal with 2 lings and a drone. Good to know some numbers. Always remember that workers are better than Zerglings. Yes. Yeah. Alright, let's zoom forward where we see more of Darkslayer TV's strategy. So he's getting a +1 upgrade. I'm going to start saying things out loud just to give ideas to you as to things that you might not be thinking about in terms of adjustment. We're getting +1 upgrade. Are we going to have that many ground units? Do we need it that early? We're spending chrono boosts on this forge. Do we really need +1 that early? Here we are having it done and we have 2 sentries. Maybe we got this +1 upgrade too early. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we wanted 1-1 really, really early. Here we see 2 Stargates going down for fleet beacon. Okay, cool, we got 2 more gateways. We're building units to defend ourselves with. We're envisioning a whole bunch of roach attacks coming up, and how scary that could be, and we want to make sure that we have defense against it. maybe we don't actually need all these units. Maybe we don't need these 3 gates. We're getting our carriers really fast. We built 1 Void Ray. Should we be getting more Void Rays? Maybe if he came in with an Roach attack right now, it would be nice to have 2 Void Rays instead of 1. Now, that comment I made about the Void Ray timing, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm going to wait until players start attacking me with Roaches just so I have a feel for what it's like. If no one ever attacks you with Roaches, you may never make that adjustment, and that's fine. This expansion's going down. Is this expansion too early? Is it too late? It looks like there's a potential vulnerability right here, as looks like the rocks are going to get broken down and there's not that much we can do about it. Maybe we took this expansion too early. Maybe our adjustment is to build a pylon right there so we can spot for this sort of link play. Here comes out our carrier play. It's doing very nearly enough. We're almost breaking down the front, but a few too many units right at the very end ends up cleaning us up. Maybe we had not enough carriers. Maybe we had too many carriers. Maybe we should have just, maybe we didn't have enough ground units. Maybe we needed more Phoenixes. Have we scouted him? Maybe we need to know if he's going Mutalisks or Hydralisks. What I'm going to end up doing is stopping right here. No, actually, you know, let's watch just the end of the game and stop asking ourselves these questions. Let's just note that Mutalisks start to deal damage. Noting the food, 88 to 190, I would label Darkslayer TV as dead right now. Zerg has the whole map. He has so much stuff. I mean, his upgrades are doing great. Mutalisks hitting the top side. Looks like Mutalisks trying to pull through. We're doing one last push, but it's going to be pretty easy for the Zerg to just target fire. Clean us up. Easy peasy, Fabrizi, Parcheesi, etc. And at 40 food, there's the good game and the well played. Cool, nice. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so we did a lot of describing of what. Now, in terms of the adjustment that we could make, I'm going to first say what Darkslayer's adjustment was. And we're going to think about whether that's right or wrong, whether we like it or whether we don't. So what Darkslayer TV pointed out is that his first attack comes at around 15 minutes. Here's his units starting to stack up. Alright, we're moving out with the carriers. We have 3 Void Rays, we have some ground units, and we're going for it. The attack arrives here at 15 minutes. At 15 minutes, Zerg already has Mutas up. He has good defense. He's actually getting double Spire for double upgrades. He has a ton of more units popping out. 4 more Mutas, 24 more links. So what Darkslayer said was, you know, this attack seems a little bit late. Zerg seemed to have everything that he needed. Transfusing on the Queen, Mutalisks out, and a ton of extra Zerglings, and he even killed my base off. This felt too late. I felt like I already let Zerg have stuff. So, what did Darkslayer say was going to be his adjustment? I'm going to get them faster by skipping these 2 gateways. I'm not going to get these 2 gateways. Why? Because no attack came, and then I'll get my 2 Stargates. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blitz through that analysis really quickly. I'm going to blitz through why I like that statement. For one, I think the attack was too late. I like the idea of attacking a little bit earlier. It makes it harder for Zerg because Zerg doesn't really have good anti-air early on. Pretty much it's Queens and Spores until he can get Hydras or Aspire units. So nice, if we're doing an attack earlier on, he doesn't have the luxury of Mutalisks and Hydras in large number. He might not even have them. Also, I like the idea of getting a Stargate up earlier because we don't really need that much defense at our front earlier on, because if we get a Void Ray, what can he do to hit it? He'll have Roaches or Lings, or Banelings. Those are the only threats early on. We can defend all those with a Void Ray. Why else do I like it? Yeah, I just think that in terms of these gateways here, we don't really need the Zealots for anything. I think they're a little bit redundant. So in my eyes, I just think it's a completely reasonable adjustment to make with the strategy. And now I'm done. I've stopped analyzing. I'm done. I quit. I quit analyzing at that point because everything I've said kind of makes sense to me. It could be a little bit wrong. I don't know. Maybe I say something like, most Zergs don't attack before 8 minutes, which is not exactly true, but in my experience it's been true, and that's fine. That's totally fine to do. But just make sure that when you say it, you're like, yeah, it's totally dead on. This is what I want to do now. Now I want to talk about what Darkslayer TV included in his email as potential reasons. As potential reasons for things that he was going to do. This is the problem. Also, I know my camera's out of focus. I'll fix it in the next break. Sorry, I forgot to adjust all my camera settings. Again, I just reformatted. I'm just seeing, focus, focus. I'll fix it. Sorry. So let's talk about Darkslayer TV's reasons for it. Actually, I wonder if I can do it right now. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, can I do this shit live? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like that. Let's try focus 5. Oh, my God. My eyes are beautiful. Actually, they look bloodshot because I've been up all night. Okay, cool. All right, neat. What are we talking about? Oh, yeah. Darkslayer TV's justifications, right? It's the justifications that I had an issue with. Let me tell you about the big justification Darkslayer TV wrote about. He wrote about how, in this game, the prevalence of Mutalisks on the field were giving him problems. The fact that Mutalisks were popping in here to harass, that Mutalisks were popping up here to harass. He wrote a lot about these in the email, so I need to have some better way to deal with this. Anytime there's a lot of Mutalisks doing this sort of thing, it can be frustrating. But I want to note that right now, when there's 26 workers killed due to this harassment, up in the top left, this thing died. At this point in time, Darkslayer TV is actually totally dead. The Mutalisks are literally irrelevant. I actually feel like at 16 minutes, right after this attack was killed off, if we just look at the state of the screen, it's a 4-base Zerg who has a gold and who's doing great on upgrades, who has a pretty good army, against our 5 Zealots, our 2-base play. At this point, we're actually gone. The mistake I never want you to make is to analyze past where you need to. Our attack at 15 minute failed. So, how do we make that attack work? That's the question we're really dealing with. Things that happen after the failed attack technically don't matter, because right now, Darkslayer TV would be completely justified in leaving the game right now. So in other words, it's the adjustment of, let me attack earlier, is fine. I think that's totally fine and great and not a problem at all. But it pains me when that sort of thing happens. Also, the way Darkslayer described these 2 gateways, he said, I wanted to make 3 gateways early on to play it safe. I'm not going to build these 2 gateways when I try again because I want to be risky. Risky and safe are not real words in StarCraft 2. It's easy to get caught up in some shorthand vocabulary, but when you're doing analysis, skip right over the shorthand vocabulary and make sure you're actually stating something. So for instance, I wanted to be safe early on. That doesn't mean anything. What means something is I wanted to hold off the standard Ling Baneling all in. I wanted to hold off a 1-base Roach Rush. Listen to how specific that is. I wanted to hold off a 2-base Roach Rush. I was worried about a Nidus Worm in my base. These are real things. To say being safe is not even addressing what's the potential issue. So when you say be risky, still doesn't mean anything. I'm going to skip these 2 gateways, which means I'll definitely lose to a 1-base Roach all-in. That's a real statement now. So when we hop into this second game, what we're going to see from Darkslayer TV is wonderful success. An absolutely wonderful success as he adjusts the strategy. And yes, I'm fine loading into the old BattleNet. Has to log me off. Brr. Alright, cool. This is not the computer. This is a player-named computer. As you will note, most computers, look at this. Passing the Turing test right there. U2 with a U. God, brilliant. Darkslayer TV. Nice. Cool. So Darkslayer TV says his adjustment is going to be to skip those extra gateways and just get his Stargate up as fast as possible. And what were the two phrases that you heard me most concerned about? One was these scary mutalisks at the end that were doing tons of damage. Those are actually, we can completely throw out of our analysis because we were dead. It didn't matter if you went hydras or mutas or roaches, we were dead. So we can actually throw that out. That's not part of our analysis. The second thing that bugged me was this idea of being safe at the start of the game. That was a bit of a concern because I would argue getting a fast air unit makes us safe. So here's the problem with saying shorthand. If I skip gateways 2 and 3, I'm playing risky. Since I'm playing risky, I better be safe. And here's Darkslayer TV building 2 cannons and a gateway before Nexus. When you say something like, I'm playing risky, your brain naturally builds these cannons to fight the notion of risk. There's no risk going on. Hell, Zerg has 6 Zerglings. And Zerg is even going to try to do an all-in this game. But with expanding and trying to go all-in, we're still doing totally great on this timing of the photon cannon front. Or we're still doing great with just a nice wall off and really fast Stargates. So here Darkslayer TV is getting his 2 Stargates up. Here comes a whole bunch of Banelings. And here comes the attack, the all-in, which actually doesn't really end the game. What if that attack had a bunch of Zerglings following it? Easy. In-game, we just build a pylon, wall ourselves in, we're in good shape again. So even though this is kind of close, even though this might feel a little bit dangerous, we can just move the pylons a little bit, move the photon cannons a little bit, maybe get a sentry up earlier, and we're fine. We're actually fine. I don't want you to fall into this trap of feeling like there's a real risk when there really isn't. So as we come back into here, we're just seeing this adjustment from Darkslayer TV. Again, I'm not that worried about the fact that he got supply blocked here. Here's the 4 gateways that he's building following his push, exactly as White Ra does. Oh, by the way, for any of you who didn't know this, interceptors have auto-build. If you actually just right-click on the build interceptors, they'll automatically build one at a time, and then you don't do this thing where you queue up interceptors. Did you know that? I knew that. Did you know that? I knew that! That's a thing I knew! I knew that thing! And the Graviton catapult, which is so cool because I imagine a catapult made out of real gravity. And as Darkslayer noted in his own self-analysis, he now, rather than doing a push at 15 minutes, is doing a push at around 12 minutes. Well, 13 minutes. He could have done it in 12, but he waited just a smidge. And suddenly, look at the food differential. It's basically the same idea going on, except that Darkslayer TV is not only attacking a lot earlier, but is also up against a composition that's worse for him. This is a harder composition to be up against, as opposed to Queen Mutalisk. He's up against Corruptor Mutalisk. That's really good against Darkslayer TV's strategy. And yet the timing is so good that he still manages to crush. So nice. Boom. More carriers rolling right up on in. And an easy peasy win. So what we're seeing here from the Darkslayer TV side is that he did a new strategy. It was something totally different. And attack timing felt a little too late, so he made kind of a big adjustment. He said, let me do this way earlier. Rather than going gateway, gateway, double Stargate, I'm going to go double Stargate, gateway, gateway. Right? He's just swapping them around. Pretty big, as we'll note. It's a full 3 minutes earlier of an attack, but looked amazing, right? It looked really, really good. It was really nice. But of course, there's this broad danger going on underneath everything, which is that, oh, that was great. There's this broad danger going on, which is that if you are doing the right adjustments for the wrong reasons, you can end up in a spot where any adjustment you make needs to be fully well thought out, and it'll be hard to find those. And then you'll be in a position where you're like, well, I'm losing all the time. I can't figure out what I could change because everything's perfect. So it's important that you think it like all the way through. If there are elements that happen way after the moment you're trying to analyze, just ignore them. Just totally ignore them. For instance, if you're trying to figure out how to hold off a bunker rush, just focus on holding off the bunker rush. Don't worry about losing the hatch, coming back, and not having enough brood lords at the 22-minute mark. Just throw that out. And of course, when you're saying things like risky and safe, make sure that you're drilling all the way to what the heart of the matter actually is. I'm losing against a Baneling all-in, but I'm winning against a Roach all-in. Now with that information, I can do something useful. In part number 3, what we're going to be looking at is a game where I would call it a good-looking adjustment, but the incorrect one. So it's in response to what one of our opponents did. Let's look at it after the break. Yay!